Hi, it's Nicola from Inspire Under Wire and welcome to this month's summary of the monthly mindfulness. And this month is NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I'll be coming on to the meaning of that in a little while. But first just see what you interpret by the words neuro, linguistic, programming. And you'll start to get a little bit of an understanding. Of course, we're going to go a bit more deep into that with some examples and practice as well. But it's essentially the practice of understanding how people organise their thinking, their feeling, their language and behaviour to produce the results that they do. So if you were to kind of capture that, it would be a unique view of the world. So NLP is the key element of it is that we form our unique internal mental map of the world as a product of the way we filter and perceive information absorbed through our five senses. So in a nutshell, we're presented with billions of information from 0 years old till the age we are today, and we have our own interpretation of that. We could have a perceived negative or positive understanding of the experiences that we have, and some of these might be very obvious so-called negative experiences, and some also might be misunderstandings, and that's also how the subconscious works. And we use that concept in hypnotherapy, but certainly it's used in NLP as well. And there's a lot of relatability from NLP to hypnotherapy, but I would say the main difference between them is that NLP focuses more on the now. It doesn't really go back and look at the whys and the whos and the whens. It looks at what you want to feel now and how you want to feel in the future and what that looks like. It's also very conscious. In other words, you've got your eyes open, but sometimes you are closing your eyes to visualize. It's a very practical tool. It's a very physical tool. So sometimes things that you're not doing as a tool in your mind, you might be doing standing up or using items to help, props and things like this. But it's also a way that we use language, as linguistics suggests. So it's about patterns, and it's about how you talk to yourself. I love that key phrase of be careful what you say or you say to yourself because you're listening. So when you first start looking at the patterns and the behaviours that have been playing round and round, you might actually start to feel a bit shocked about what you say to yourself. It's very natural for us to actually criticise ourselves more than anybody else, and yet we'd never say that to a friend or a loved one. So it's also about patterns. Just giving you an example of the word should, it's quite a powerful word, and actually we don't have to do anything. We don't have to put ourselves in a situation we should do anything. Who is the person that is saying the should? Because most likely it's not from yourself originally. Again, that's crossing a little bit into hypnotherapy, which is the difference. Hypnotherapy does look at the backstory. It helps you to move forward from an emotion and then looks at how you will apply it in the future and today. But we're focusing on NLP, and just like hypno, it also tackles the subconscious mind, which is fantastic because the subconscious is 88% of what drives you on a daily basis. So it's also said that it's 9,000 times more powerful. If you're not aware of what drives you on a subconscious level, your values, your belief systems, your patterns, then you're letting life lead you. Rather than you being a bit mindful and pausing and making new choices. So NLP helps you to shift perspective, to see things differently, and therefore bring empowerment and self-leadership back to your life. So it was designed originally by two gentlemen, Bandler and Grindler. And I was lucky enough to be trained by one of the trainees of the Bandler route. This was a guy called Jerry, and he was based in America. He came to Dubai, where I was living at the time, and he did, he stayed there for quite a long time, teaching us for a couple of months about NLP. He was amazing. At least 70 years old, loads of life experiences and loads of experience with NLP as a therapist and also as a trainer. So it was just wonderful to have lots of live stories and metaphors. Because if you ever did decide to do NLP training yourself, what you'll find is, first and foremost, it's absolutely wonderful for your own personal awareness. And as you know, part of my definition of mindfulness is about self-awareness. Well, a big part of it, because that's how you make those mindful choices. So it really holds a mirror up to yourself, and you can start to look at your own patterns, and you can shift it during the practice sessions, which is amazing. But it also works for you in terms of if you want to be a coach, if you want to do that as a profession, or if you want to do that within your company or as a manager. So it's really fantastic. And if you ever are interested in looking at that, feel free to just send me the link of where you're looking at, and I can just suss out what kind of NLP training it is. There's no right or wrongs as such. There's just some specific Bandler and Grindler NLP lineage, and then there's some shorter courses as well. So it just depends whether you want a taster or you want to just go full on into it. So that is a bit of the intro, as you say, about what NLP is. But let's get into now a bit about what neuro, linguistic and programming stands for. Okay, so I'm going to put this flip chart piece of paper up just now for you to have a look while I'm talking you through it. Because NLP, it's actually a really big subject. Like I say, it takes quite a long time to train yourself in it if you're looking in NLP. But also there's some quick techniques that you can learn, and that's, as you know, what these monthly mindfulness sessions are all about. It's a little taster, and then it's up to you what you do with that. Not every tool every time will resonate with you. So with NLP, if you really feel like it's a technique that you like, then you can either read more into it, study more into it, or have some one-to-ones with that specific method. So I can't go into everything about NLP, but I can certainly give you the underlying concepts, how things are done, and as I say, a couple of examples. So looking at this slide then, or this flip chart, you can see that we have a brain, okay, so we can see that one straight away. And then, as you can see, it's mapped out with neuro, linguistic and programming. Then we have, as we said right in the beginning, the input, so that's the data, the sensories, and then the output, which is basically your behaviour, your language, your patterns, the way you live your life. And just to repeat again, everybody has their own unique map of the world, and so with NLP it's also about reframing and therefore understanding other people as well as understanding yourself, and that just makes life also easier and more peaceful and helps you to make those mindful choices that we talk about. Remember, everybody is doing the best they can with the information that they have at the time, and this includes your younger self, whether that's years younger or whether that's yesterday's you. Okay, so reframing is a big part of it as well, choices, and that comes with why do we need to know about NLP? Why would we like to explore NLP? Okay, so back to this flip chart again. Let's go through one by one then. So neuro, as it says, it's the first access. So neuro, of course, refers to the brain as well, and the neurons, so how the brain's all connected, how it all works. And as I say, from millions of data through the senses, we develop our own unique filtering system. Now, this system is derived, as I said, through the subconscious, through your experiences, and is very unique to each person. So where one person will be terrified of a wasp, could have been through a learned behaviour, seeing a parent being scared of a wasp. Of course, if you're a child and you see your parent scared of a wasp, then you are wired to follow their behaviour because it's your survival. So of course you believe everything that you see and you hear. Now for somebody, or that same person may have also been stung by a wasp. So you've got two levels of reinforcement here. So all you need really is 2 or 3 reinforcements at a very young age, and you've got yourself a pattern. You've got yourself a coping mechanism, the way that you perceive the world. So it's reinforced and then it's cemented. Okay. Somebody else might have never had a bad experience with a wasp. They just see them as flies and they respond completely different to them. So you can see that different experiences in life can get more and more complicated, because you will then bring that through into adulthood, and it might just be that you start to be fearful of the outdoors, and it could have been a follow-on from this wasp experience. So as much as these things are wired into us, actually we can change them. So we can change how we respond to certain situations. Now it's important at this point to highlight the fact that there's 2 different mechanisms that are going on in the brain. You have your fight, flight and freeze, which is your emergency responses to, you know, fearful situations, and this is there for your survival. It's amazing. All the blood goes to the extremities, your heart starts beating faster, the breath starts going faster as well. All goes away from your system, so your systems are basically on lockdown, ready for you to either run away from something or fight something. You know, we're familiar with this concept. So what's happening here is you're not thinking, oh, I need to run away. It's a very immediate response that happens to your body that causes anxiety. And that's why actually some anxiety is positive, because it makes us move, it makes us change, it makes us action something. Anxiety is only an issue when it's coming up in a situation where it's not appropriate, because there isn't a real fear going on. This is why it's quite difficult in the modern world, because we can't run or fight or freeze most of the time. Or that anxiety becomes chronic, and it's basically impacting your life. But at the same time, this anxiety is happening instantaneously, and we sometimes blame ourselves for not being able to calm down. And you know that feeling when someone says to you, just calm down. When you're feeling this huge surge of chemical reaction in your body, like adrenaline and cortisol, this is the amygdala that's basically setting off the adrenaline. And once that whole system takes over, there's no logical talking that you can do to yourself. So try not to beat yourself up if you do experience this surge of fight and flight. Just pause for a minute and recognise that these are symptoms of anxiety, and that these symptoms will pass. They always pass. If you're in a situation where you do feel threatened, there's other people around you, and you're fearful that you might react in a way that's unfavourable, best thing to do is pause, try to walk away. If possible, try to sleep on it. But if it's present, if something's right in front of you, just try to make that quick excuse, just to say, just bear with me a second, I just need to grab a water, go to the toilet. You know, if it's people you don't know. If it's a loved one, you might have to say, I just need to pause right now, I can't think straight. There's a reason why you can't think straight, and that's because of the impulse going through your body. The best thing to do in these scenarios is to just let those chemicals subside, and then the cortex thinking side of the brain, of the mind, can take over and reassure you, actually, there is no fear here, so let's just carry on. Loads of ways to calm down your system, such as breathing, meditation, relaxation, and so on. So kind of sidetracking here, but just so that you know where that comes from. Cortex-based anxiety is when we're overthinking something, and that can be easily and logically described to yourself or explained to yourself, and you can shift your thought. And again, that's where NLP comes in. Okay, so back to this image of the brain and working it out. So we had this input, that goes in, and we have this unique filtering based on our experiences. We try to understand whether this is a good experience or a bad experience, if it's good for our well-being or it's damaging, and we try to interpret and analyse, and this can be a split second or it can be something that you ponder on. So we assign personal meaning. This is our linguistic side of it, and it's just why sometimes you see people dealing with things quite differently to yourself, just because they've had a different experience. As I say, you can rewire your own map. There's not much we can do about somebody else's. We have to learn how to manage things that are out of our control, but certainly we can work on ourselves, how we see things and how we see situations. And I'll be coming on to an example, an activity, and just proving how you can actually do that. So with the linguistics, it's our assigning meaning. When we say assigning language, we're looking at our body language, our tone, our words, how we act, and so on. And then with the programming, so if you think about, well, what's programming then? As it says there, it's our behavioural response. So sometimes we have no idea about how we react to something or to someone, and it's only when we're ready to deal with it that it comes into our awareness, either through feedback or through our own contemplation. And sometimes we've gone one step further and we have come to understand, oh yeah, I can be like that. I do respond in that way. And it's just about trying to break that cycle, break that pattern, and being kind to yourself in doing so, because you've been saying this pattern, you've been playing this record over and over, probably for a very long time. So a little bit of being kind to yourself. So the programming is your behavioural responses from the neuro and from the linguistic, and how you put that out to the world. And it's not about being perfect, it's about looking at what you're ready to work on and change if it's causing you and others pain, or what you're ready to start to learn to love about yourself. For example, I really struggle with remembering people's names. I've tried lots of different ways to change this, and ultimately I'm just going to accept it. I'm going to make light of it. I'm going to see it in a different way and reframe it. So instead of putting a lot of pressure on myself, instead of highlighting that in a negative way, I learn to laugh at myself about it. Right, so we're getting an understanding about the background of NLP. And if we were to summarise at this point, we could say it's about patterns, it's about behaviour, perception and perception. And based on all of this, making new choices, which is what mindfulness is all about anyway. We all have the light and dark side of our character. So it's also not about trying to just be positive all the time and ignore those sensations and feelings that you're having, because they're there for a reason. Like I say, we have the full spectrum of the scale of our emotions for a reason. It's just about recognising when you're too much in one side than the other. Debbie Ford, who wrote the Dark Side of the Light Chasers, has a really good philosophy on how when you see somebody's behaviour that you dislike and sometimes get infuriated with, there's a reason behind that. Have you ever noticed that some people who are late, it doesn't bother some people when others are late, and other people it infuriates, and there's no right or wrong with that. It's just a different understanding and perception and filtering of the world. Most of the time when you have, this is what Debbie Ford says, when you have an experience where it's almost like overwhelmingly high in terms of intensity, there's something there that needs to be healed. So what she says is that when you're looking at a certain behaviour and it's so strong within you, there must be a reason for that, because otherwise it wouldn't bother you. Yeah, there's bits that bother you, and it says people's habits are annoying, and just like we have certain habits that are annoying. But when it's very intense, there's something else usually going on. So for example, if somebody is late, let's use that one as a continuous example, and it infuriates you to the max, to the point where it puts you in a mood and then it impacts your whole day and your relationship with this person, then we have to look at what that is. Of course you could say, well, I like to be organised, it impacts my work, and so on and so forth. But there's also other ways that you can approach the issue with the person. But what do? We blurt it out, we get angry. It is so much harder in reality to just pause and calm down and make a new choice. That choice being how you react, think and feel inside, and how you respond outside, so externally. Your choices, the way you use your words with people, and the way that you try to influence that change. So for example, if somebody irritates you regularly and you use that word, you always, you make really bold statements, then of course this other person's going to get their defence up just as you would. However, if you use the words in a slightly different way, such as, I often feel quite anxious when you're late, or when people are late in general, and I've noticed that you sometimes do that, and that raises my anxiety. I wondered if you'd be able to have a look at that. You know, they've of course got their own stuff to sort out in their own journey with that, but a lot of mindfulness is about accepting things that you maybe can't influence or change, and deciding, okay, how am I going to deal with that instead then? So things that are out of our control, we have two choices. We can either let it go, which is a big choice in itself, to be able to pause, breathe, calm the system down and let it go. Choose the battles that you want to fight, so to speak. Again, not as easy as it sounds, but it does get easier. Or if it's not something that we're willing to accept, it's also then a choice of how do I approach it and how do I try to influence it. It's Eckhart Tolle that says, you know, when you're ever in a situation, don't make yourself the victim. Don't stay in that dilemma. You either try to influence it in a very positive, action-orientated way it's comfortable for you and for them. If that doesn't work, then you have to try and accept. So whether it's accepting and loving part of yourself or the other person, and that's not a I'm just going to shut up about it. That is a genuine acceptance, which also is hard work, but it's an option. Because if you just decide, you know what, I'll just keep quiet and keep my mouth shut, then you are going to build resentment because you're not being true to yourself. And the third one, of course, is to leave the situation, whatever that is. And that is a very, very difficult choice to make. And as he says, all else is madness. So what Debbie Ford says is that if you see a behaviour in someone that drives you quite insane, and you might be thinking, why do I get so worked up about this? Like I said, there's lots of things to be able to do to shift that and to change the patterns, and NLP is a tool to do that. But what she says is, to understand it a bit deeper, is that it's usually a trait in yourself that you've not accepted. So sometimes you think, no, I would never be late. Or it could be that you've witnessed a really abusive verbal attack on someone and you think, no, I would never do that. Okay, so what she does is she takes you through a process of trying to put you in situations or scenarios when that could possibly happen, because actually we are all everyone. We have all the behaviours and capabilities of every single type of person. We just don't choose to use them, and we've just not been through certain situations or experiences that's brought that out of us. So you look at somebody who maybe has a verbal attack on somebody who's obviously been through certain situations themselves to get them into such a state. So you would say, okay, well, what if you were brought up in a home where it was very abusive and you developed a learned behaviour? Not everyone will develop that learned behaviour. Other people might go introvert with it, other people might go extrovert. But let's just say this particular person develops this abusive attitude themselves, but it's kind of laying dormant. It's sometimes come out in different ways, like anger or snappiness, and then one particular day, you know, maybe you've had a horrendous day, you've had a massive argument with somebody, the car's broken down on the way to work for a presentation that you were supposed to be doing, really important one, the CEO or the managing director's there, it's important for your career. You get there, the IT's not working, even though you were completely prepared, people are late, all this stuff's going on, and then you have feedback from your manager and it's really negative. Then you're in the car and someone cuts you up and you're normally quite calm, and you go, have a go at them, and you might even in some situations get out and do that, and you think, gosh, that was so out of character, that's, gosh, you know, it's really everything's really impacted me, that fight, flight and freeze is going crazy. So when you asked, would you actually be verbally abusive to someone at quite an extensive level at some point, and then you go, in that situation, yes. So everybody has the capability. She says you were either like that in the past and you've struggled to let go and forgive yourself and forgive the other people that contributed to how you were like, or you're currently like that now but you've not got that in your awareness, or you have a potential to be like that that is lying dormant and you're just not prepared to accept that that could be part of your personality if pushed. So coming back to the slides then, as I say, I've just summarised what that is. We've got these two wolves at the bottom here, so these are the wolves, and with these wolves we've got this black wolf and we've got this white wolf, and this is a Native American philosophy about these two sides of your personality, because actually they are both of us. We do have both of these wolves inside us, but sometimes we spend so long trying to push these away and try to push our feelings away that it actually brings it worse. When you bring things into your awareness, that can be a healing in itself, just by going, yeah, I can be like that. And then you start to recognise it, and the pattern can just change through you being very mindful of when you're doing it. So they say that these two wolves, black wolf is the one where we're maybe feeling aggressive or we're not responding in the way that we want to. It could be the opposite. It could be that we retreat into ourselves, we isolate ourselves, we get lethargic, depressed or anxious. So these are all this side of ourselves which we all have. And then on the white side, then on this white wolf, represents when we're feeling lighter, when we're feeling positive, joyful, energetic and active, we're feeling compassionate, we're seeing things from a very different perspective from our higher self, and we're supportive in a natural way without obligation and so on. So these two wolves are struggling for food, they're trying to find food and they're trying to live, and they get into this bit of a fight, and the saying goes that which wolf will win the fight then? And the answer is the one that you feed the most. So it's just taking a moment to recognise where you are and try to break that cycle the best way that you know how. And again, this is what these mindfulness sessions are all about, exploring the different tools to help you break that cycle. But it comes with awareness first. We have to keep contemplating and looking at ourselves and getting to know ourselves first of all. Alright, so I've got 3 different exercises that I want to run through with you today for NLP. And the first one is one that's done just in your chair or laying down, and it's one that's in the mind. It is more of a cortex based one, so what I mean by that is you're using your mind to rethink, to reframe, and I'm going to read this out to you with an image in the background, because you don't need to have me there staring at you and feeling uncomfortable, because this one is about closing your eyes. So let's just take a moment now and get comfortable wherever you are. Okay, so whether you're in a chair or you're just laying down for a moment, just get yourself comfortable. It's not too much of a relaxing meditation, but more of a thinking visualization. So we'll just take a couple of deep breaths here. Alright, and now in your mind, I just want you to start to think about a situation that bothers you on a scale of 0 to 10, around a 5 or a 6. So nothing that brings you intense emotions or frustrations or upset, but something that bothers you and it's a little bit out of your control and you just wish that you felt slightly different about it, or that you could at least bring yourself to a calm place to approach the situation, or if there's another person involved, in a very positive way to influence a change. But as it happens right now in this situation, it's either reoccurring or there's a pattern and you just get yourself quite frustrated with it. So it could be anything. It could be someone not cleaning up after themselves. It could be the fact that you lose your keys all the time. You know, it could be a colleague at work and their tone of their emails. It could be so many different things. So as I said, nothing that's bringing you too much stress, but something that's really frustrating you and you wish you just felt a little bit calmer about it, to either let it go or to make a new choice. Okay, so you can always pause this video if you need to continue thinking, but we'll go ahead for now. So in your mind's eye, just draw forward that scene. So it could be a typical scene, whether you're at work, at home, in your car, with someone, or you're on your own. Just start to fill in the visual blanks here. So that could be, you know, any table, as I say, person, it could be outside. Just start to fill in the blank canvas, just filling it in with colour, with props, with the scenario itself, and then just see yourself in this particular scene. And when I say see yourself, I want you to actually step into your body, looking out through your own eyes at the situation. I want you to feel those sensations, those frustrations, those bodily upsets such as the heart racing or the heart pumping and the breath increasing. Maybe you start to feel emotions as well. You start to feel that same frustration that you have in real life in this particular situation. So take a few moments now to really feel those as if it's happening to you right now. Okay, very good. Now, I'd like you to imagine that you're in a theatre and you're at front stage, you're at the front row, you're looking up and you can see this scene now playing out in front of you. So there might be minimal props there just to give you an indication of where you are, if it's outside or inside. The lighting will reflect this. Is it dramatic lighting? Is it bright? Is it somber? Is it relaxed? How many people are there? And just see the scene in front of you. And of course, if you're doing this kind of scene, then you're watching it, there needs to be some more exaggerated movement as you're watching yourself and whoever or whatever else is involved, because the audience right at the back need to get an understanding. They can't see the facial expressions, so somehow you need to get across the intensity of what's going on here. See that scene playing out. Notice yourself, your body language, your face. Notice the other person and notice what you notice. Okay. So just shifting the scene up a little bit. Just imagine now that you're in a live studio audience of a comedy show and It's an American kind of sitcom, so the lighting's really bright, it's really colourful. You're in the audience is full, it's a really good atmosphere. Everyone loves this show, everyone's laughing and happy, and you're watching the exact same scene now. The two actors, if there's two people, or if it's just the one actor or actress. And this time you're filling in all the props again, so you might need to make it as realistic as possible, because obviously when we're watching a show, there's everything in there for continuity purposes. So just fill all the scenes in. You can also see the cameras, the microphones, the whole set, even behind the set backdrop. Just filling all that in and just taking a moment once again to watch yourself in this scene. And remember, it's a comedy, so the actors or actor are trying to get across something a little serious, but also bringing some lightness to it. So it's quite a skill to get that nice balance, and they easily manage to do this in sitcoms. So just watching that scene play out in front of you again. Okay, so again, just notice what you notice here, maybe some feelings in your body as you're watching this. And now it's the main actor or actress's birthday today, and the audience are not aware of this, but the producers of the show have got a cheeky little treat up their sleeves, and they're about to play some music over the top of this scene. And the actor or actress has no idea that this is going to happen. And this piece of music will be very personal to this person. It could be something really funny or like a horror movie type soundtrack. It's something that will actually break them out of their character, and they will absolutely stop the scene and start laughing. Of course, they will have to do that scene all over again, but it's worth it because it's really funny for the people in the scene if there's more than one, and it's really funny for the audience even though they're not quite sure what the main actor is laughing at. So just let that scene roll out again, and whenever you're ready, bring in that music. Watch how that character is broken and the real person from underneath comes out, laughing and joking alongside with everybody. See the lightness. See how easily and smoothly that can be broken, and the audience enjoying, laughing with you. Feel that whole lightness in your body, in your mind, and how differently you perceive this scene now. Taking yourself back to that first image in your mind of that scene that causes you frustration on a scale of around 5 to 6 in the past, but now that's shifted down somewhat. You feel quite a lot different about the whole scenario. You're ready to either let it go or make a choice, a very calm choice in how to approach this situation. And just notice what that number is. It will have come down somewhat. So whatever number comes into your head first is the right number for you. Good. And now with that new awareness, with that new feeling, just visualize yourself now dealing with that situation in a whole new way. So that first scenario that you allowed yourself to see at the beginning, see yourself reacting in a different way, and also making your new choice. That choice being either to let it go or to approach this personal situation in a new way, and allow yourself to take yourself through that new choice now. Excellent. Just noticing how differently you feel having made that new choice. in your body, how you see yourself, how you see the situation. And I'll just count you from 3 to 1. And at 1 you'll be feeling wide awake and ready for the next portion, refreshed and feeling good about yourself. Beginning with 3, just starting to notice your body once again, taking a nice deep breath in. And 2, you're connecting to the physical sensations of the body, wiggling fingers and toes, bringing that energy and positivity back with you. With 1, opening your eyes, blinking your eyes open. Excellent. Okay, so just taking a moment now to contemplate on that for a moment. It's not that you're going to particularly use this tool every time you feel frustration. The purpose of that exercise was to remind you that you can change your perspective, even just for a moment, or even just to calm your body and your systems down. So the second one I'm going to show you is called the Circle of Excellence, and it's about bringing that positivity, that confidence from a previous experience, because we've all felt confident and positive at various times in our life, even if it doesn't reflect the current issue that you're working with, and how to bring that back in to your current situation. Okay, so again, I'm going to take myself off the screen here, and this is a very practical one, so you want a little bit of space on the floor, and following my instructions through the voice here. Okay, so we're standing up for this one. What you want is to draw an imaginary circle in front of you. You can either put, a hula hoop down or anything else to visualize that if you prefer, but an imaginary circle is fine. And you can always place what we call an anchor down in the middle of that circle, so you know where that is. That could be anything. It can be a hairband, it can be a little bit of paper, it can be some card or a book or anything like that just goes in the center to show where it is. Okay, now what I want you to do is, and you might need to pause the video while you think about this, is again to think of a situation. So it could either be the same one and you want to just try a different technique, or a different situation where you feel you would like a bit more confidence. You just don't know where this lack of confidence or self-esteem is coming from, but for you to move through it, you would like to feel really confident in yourself, really empowered, and that will give you the best outcome that you're looking for. And it's as simple as that. So take a moment to choose something. Right, let's begin. So this circle in front of you represents the circle of excellence, or the circle of confidence of what you want to feel, be, and do in this particular scenario. Okay, so looking at your circle now, just give your circle a colour. And there's no right or wrong here, so if that colour changes, that's absolutely fine. If it's one particular colour that comes out to you, that's great too. And this colour actually represents confidence. So now I'd like you to find a memory of a time when you really felt very confident. A time you were capable and successful at whatever you were doing. Just take a moment there. And if you struggle to find one straight away, just press pause, search through your mind, and you will find one. It could be as simple as going for a walk in an afternoon one day and just feeling absolutely at one with nature, building your confidence. It could be a meal with friends or loved ones. It could be an achievement at school or otherwise. It could be just some positive feedback that somebody gave you. I'd like you to relive this experience, fully associate with it, seeing what you saw, hearing what you heard, feeling confident, being there fully now. Just feel it up through your body. We're not stepping into the circle just yet. We're just remembering. Even the emotions have memories, the muscles have memories. Feel that through your body. Feel the impact in your mind, the lightness, how tall you're standing. And when you feel absolutely wonderful here, I'd like you to take a step into your circle, leading with your feeling side of your body. Noticing how the sensations of confidence increase as you physically step into that circle, like a switch, whooshing up through your body. Be fully aware of how confidence feels when you're feeling it. Look down into the circle. Look at that colour now, vibrating. You might even hear a soft hum that indicates how powerful the confident energy is. It's almost filling up this circle now, coming in through your feet, up through your body. The feelings, the beautiful feelings and sensations, of happiness, of joy, of confidence, moving up through the body, up through the abdomen, the chest, the throat, all the way through the head, feeling wonderful. And only when you feel you've reached your absolute peak in this beautiful feeling, when you feel ready, you can step out of the circle, leaving the feelings of confidence inside the circle. Okay, so now coming back to that situation where you want to have those feelings of confidence, determine what cue had been the negative trigger for you. So it could be that when you think about this particular scenario, you visualize something and that is your trigger for worry or for low self-confidence or panic, whatever you're feeling. It could be that somebody even mentions it to you and that triggers it. It could be that you see something on the TV, or that you just get this like underlying feeling inside and that triggers your negative thought process with this particular situation. So once you've identified your trigger, and again, if you want to pause it just to identify what that is, that's fine. Now this trigger will become your cue. This trigger will become your cue to bring the exact confidence that you want to emerge. So whenever you feel that trigger coming, immediately you will raise your confidence and feel those feelings that you had. So now let's just practice that. So we're neutral at the moment and I want you to start to think about that situation. And as soon as your cue becomes a reality in your body or in your mind, I want you to relive being in that moment, and as soon as that cue comes, immediately step back into the circle, again leading with your feelings and feeling confident sensations fill your body completely. So wait for it. As soon as you feel any negativity or fear come, step into the circle and feel those beautiful sensations once again, like a whoosh up through your feet, that colour rising all through your body, through your abdomen, through your chest, through your head, all your body now vibrating at a high, beautiful frequency. Feel that all again now. These feelings are fully available in this particular situation. And once you feel that in this situation itself, once you feel and understand that they're fully available, simply step out again, leaving the confident feelings in the circle. Good. Now, one final time, just have a think about that upcoming event And notice, without even stepping into the circle, how any feelings of confidence come flowing through into your body as a natural response when you think about that particular situation that you're facing. And you can practice this as many times as you want, speeding it up each time to bring that, really cement that back into your mindset. Good. Great. So the third one is about changing perspective. You have got loads of different layers on how you see things, whether it's in something how your parents see things, whether it's how you see things, whether it's about how you're somebody that you really look up to at work sees things, or whether it's deeper levels of your own consciousness. So we're going to run through that process now as well. Again, this doesn't need to be physically standing up. You can just work it through on a piece of paper by drawing a dot. I'll explain all about that in a moment as well. So again, I'm just going to talk you through this, just giving you a background image to run you through this exercise. Okay, so once again we're dealing with a difficult situation with an unwanted attitude that gets triggered by a person or a context, or a difficult decision, or a conflict involving another person. So if you are doing this standing up, and this is why I put this image in the background, you're actually placing an anchor down in front of you again. Now you want a lot of space behind you because you're stepping back about 5, 6 or 7 times, depending how far we go with it. So you want your marker, your anchor, so whether it's a piece of paper or so on, in front of your toes and lots of room behind you so you can step back safely. If you're doing this, if you're sat at a desk and you're doing this, you can make your anchor like a star. You can star on a piece of paper and you can just dot each time you step back. So you can just like draw a tiny little dot to represent you stepping back, and there'll be like 6 or 7 dots, for example, in a line. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is, looking down at this anchor, because the anchor is the situation, I'd like you to step onto that anchor and fully associate with this difficult experience and be aware of what you see, how you feel, how you think, and how you behave. So one of the examples earlier was receiving a negative email or a perceived negative email, and you would like to respond in a different way, but you can't quite see things clearly, and that's the example that I'm going to take you through, and then we'll do one together. So let me just take you through as if I'm having that situation. So I'm feeling frustration, I'm feeling anger inside my body, I'm feeling the urge to reply to that email straight away. Of course, this is because this is the amygdala's fight or flight response, and so in that case I want to action something immediately. It's very natural, but at the same time I'm mindful, so I'm not going to beat myself up for having these kind of feelings, but if I really can, I'd like to try and pause, let those chemicals subside and come back to it. So as I step back, one step back, I'm looking at this situation now from a new perspective. I'm actually looking at my old self and saying, what did this me not see from this earlier me's point of view? So imagining that there's a me stood in front of me. You have in a line, you have the anchor, you have the old you from just a few minutes ago, and you have the new you that you've stood in now in your body, and you're saying, it's okay, I understand why I reacted. And you can say the word she or he as well. So I can see why she reacted this way, because of these chemical going through the body and going into the fight or flight response. I can understand that. Great, okay. Step back one more time. So now there's 3 versions of you. What does this third version of you see that the second version didn't see? Well, the third version of me will say, she didn't also understand that this email came from a person that was also feeling fearful, experiencing fight or flight, and having these feelings and sensations in their body. Interesting. Good. Step 1 more back. So we're now in another position looking at the earlier version of us. And at this point you think, well, what did that third me not see? It could be anything. Anywhere your mind goes at this point, it could be, oh, maybe did I not explain myself properly actually in my other email? Let me just read through that. Maybe I've just assumed that people understand what I'm saying when they didn't. Okay, that's fine. Stepping back again. What did this new you see that the other you didn't see? Oh, well, maybe if I went to speak to them in person, maybe it would be a little bit less intense. Maybe we would be able to understand each other more. Perhaps that's probably what I should do. Good. Notice that the previous you didn't notice. Well, I tend to send a lot of emails and don't often speak to people in person. I wonder if I did a little bit more of that, I could build relationships in future. Doesn't excuse the fact that somebody was quite rude to me, but it makes me also understand where they might be coming from and something that I might look at in the future. And so these are different ways to approach it, and we all think very, very differently. But I'd like you to go ahead and do that now with your current situation. Now, using a completely different way to step back and to think about things. But just see if you can do that yourself now. Either writing it down on a piece of paper, dot 1, dot 2, dot 3, or dot 4, dot 5, or physically stepping back. And then what you do is you bring all that forward. So the new awareness of, I do tend to communicate a lot through email. There seems to be various miscommunications. Stepping forward. I wonder if that's what I will do this time then, just to kind of clear the air and bring the relationship a little bit more neutral and positive, stepping forward again. Oh, I do understand that they've also got their things that they're going through, and potentially maybe I didn't communicate in the clearest way. And also I've got my own things that I'm working through, and I understand that sometimes responses are very primal, and as long as I let them dissolve a little bit, I can respond in a much more logical and calm way, seeing things from 2 different perspectives. Standing back on the original anchor now, taking that all the way through with you, and all those wise perspectives for you to feel completely different about that situation and therefore make a new choice. So I encourage you to go ahead and do that and try that now. And once again, it's not that you might necessarily do this every time you have a situation, but you might just step back and back and back in your mind to be able to see things differently. And that becomes a lot faster and a lot smoother the more that you get into that kind of thinking. Okay, so those are different techniques that can help you to shift how you see things, shift your perspective, gain a little awareness, change patterns. There's absolutely loads of them. Again, little taster into NLP if it's something that you're interested in. Read a little bit more on it. Explore the different tools. Some things you can do on your own, some things you might prefer to do on a one-to-one basis to continue your journey. It's all about just building up your toolbox. Some things you'll throw out. You might have, your top 5 things for different situations, different intensities. Knowing yourself is the key. And then also catching your red flags and your triggers, and then knowing what solution to put in place at the time. And that's how you become mindful on a daily basis with these little practices and these exercises. It starts to become a very natural habit in how you pause in your everyday life. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.